Mine is this, Save the NHS.
Save the NHS.
It's all linked, you know.
Yeah,
I'm with the BMA, I'm a GP. It's all linked, all this what's going on, and the NHS being, what do you say, spoilt, you know.
Bring back the matrons. Get rid of MRSA.
Yes, bring back. No, there are a lot of other factors. Because I'm a doctor, the authority of doctors has been so much reduced nowadays. For instance, many times in England, my bosses have been managers who are like accountants or people with a nursing degree, and I have actually had to obey them rather than the other way around. And so the thing is getting a bit upside down, the whole thing. And of course, the top managers, who are not doctors or nurses, they are earning like 200,000, thank you very much. And my take-home pay as a GP is like 21,000 a month on a salary.
How do you feel about the government spending all the money they spend on bombs and destruction when you see what's happening in the NHS?
I think it's absolutely disgusting, and it really shouldn't be tolerated, and people should vote against it. People should demonstrate as they are now against it. People should write against it. And you know, so on. People don't understand, you know. The other thing which I'm very much in favour of is there's a very well hidden government department, the Office of Population Census and so on, which is keeps a tab on morbidity and mortality, all-cause morbidity, all the different diseases causing illness and death in England, you know, road accidents, TB, HIV/AIDS, you know, babies' deaths and so on. And, you know, you get a very good idea of what's happening, the trends, which are getting worse in many diseases and accident areas, you know. In other words, higher death rates in England. And nobody even knows about this department. It's so well hidden. It doesn't get any publicity.
Do you attribute this to there not being enough money to finance the research and the...
No, I think the statistics are still very well kept. I have 2 or 3 books at home. You can look up, you know, how many people died of, say, leptospirosis in, say, Birmingham last year. You can look up the exact details, and they are in many infectious diseases and so on, getting worse. Maternal mortality is getting worse.
Why do you think it's getting worse?
Can I just sort of reply to the previous one?
Sorry.
I think this government department is just being hidden. They're not allowed publicity, either...
Is the information freely available?
It is. I should think if you go to the government website and so on. But certainly there's certainly discrimination against that department.
If from your opinion as a GP, if you take away infant mortality rates of, like, say, the 19th century, early 20th century, do you think that the life expectancy rate today in 2008 is possibly lower, or are we seeing a declining life expectancy rate in the UK?
You see, I don't know about all the people in the country, and that includes the illegals who actually live here. I don't know about all the people. It's certainly better in the host community, in the richer host community. It is certainly worse in certain populations, for instance, the Afro-Caribbeans. I should think the mortality rate is worse. I don't know, but I do know that trends in many infectious diseases particularly has become worse. And the reason for infectious diseases is, for instance, the doctors in charge of public health, and I'm not a public health doctor, they've been demoted everywhere. For instance, the person who was, say, what we call a senior minister has now become a junior minister of public health. And similarly in primary care trusts, in the primary care trusts all over the country, the number of doctors has declined. They wouldn't allow them. For instance, I applied to be something, and you know, twice they said, well, we haven't received your application, whereas actually I'd sent 2 applications. So
can I ask you
by cunning.
Ask you another question?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Yes, thank you.
We've been demonstrating for about 5 years now.
Yes.
About the war, but the war's still happening, and it's happening with all the fury that it was happening 5 years ago. Why isn't it working to demonstrate?
That's a very political question, but I should think that if these demonstrations hadn't happened, and mind you, my father was a professor of history, my mother too, history graduate, but I'm not very good at this, but I do think that probably capitalism would have been the dominant, very dominant force in lots of countries in the Middle East if it hadn't been for these demonstrations, and people would have been very much slaves, as are the very, you know, people on the lowest wage in England. They would have been.
You think they have been effective?
Yes, I think they've been effective. They've been partially effective against a very strong force.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I don't think they're ineffective. I think that, as I said, the force of capitalism now, aggressive capitalism, is very strong. That's what I think. I mean, this is my personal opinion.
What do you think we can do immediately and powerfully to actually stop this war?
I don't think anything different can really be done. I think people like yourselves are doing a lot already. I think we just carry on and probably things will probably get better. I'm an optimist.